What is going on, guys? Xtimus here. So today we're going to be going over the ultimate build guide for a Fist of Heaven's Paladin in the new patch 2.4. We're going to be going over the skills, attributes, and itemization along with gameplay. Make sure you check out the description below for the complete build guide, and you can also skip to whatever part of the video you want to see. So starting off here with the character, we're going to go over the itemization first and start with the weapon. I'm using Hand of the Blessed Light. This is probably going to be the best overall option for the character, and you're going to be using this throughout almost your entire time playing the character because it does the most damage and it's also really cheap in the trading community. And we're going to be doing a tier list for some of the items here, and we'll start off with the tier list for the weapon. And the first weapon that you're going to go for is the Spirit Sword, and this is going to be really cheap in the trading community. You just need a 4-socket sword. It doesn't need to be a crystal sword, and just make sure you get this as your first weapon. And then moving on to the second weapon you want to go for is Hand of the Blessed Light. And I really think that throughout as I said, the entire time that you play this character, you will probably be using this weapon. You can move up to a Heart of Oak. This is if you want to get more resistances or you're doing something like hardcore. I really don't recommend getting Heart of the Oak, but if you really want your character to have more survivability, you can go for it. And finally, if you're really into very end game, you could go for a 5-socket Divine Scepter, or any scepter that has 3 to Conviction and 3 to Fist of the Heaven. And this is probably an item that you're never going to get because it's very difficult to find, and it will also be extremely expensive in the trading community, and it has 5 lightning jewels in there. So if you're really trying to go for something end game, you could try to get this. Overall, you are going to just be using Hand of Blessed Light. This is definitely the #1 recommended weapon for this build. And moving on to the armor, we're using Ormus Robe, and I really think that this is overall the main armor that you should go for. And we'll just start off with the tier list here for the armor. You want to get Stealth as the first armor, and you will definitely get this in normal difficulty, and you're going to be using it for a very long time. And I think the next armor you should go for is Skin of the Vipermagi, and this is just definitely overall very good for any spellcaster for resistances, faster cast rate, and all skills. So this is something you should for sure go for, and eventually you'll just have to go to Ormus Robes. This is my main recommended armor for this build. And finally, you could go for Enigma if you really want to teleport around. I don't really think Enigma is necessary now because there's so many different areas in the game that you could farm, since 2.4 added more level 85 areas, and you just don't really need to teleport around unless you really want to and you're trying to do something like bail runs. But if you are doing something like Chaos Sanctuary, you could just get the Puzzler Staff that has 69 charges for teleport, and you'll be able to teleport almost anywhere you want. It's just going to cost you a lot of gold. So if you do something like Chaos Sanctuary a lot, you can do runs very easily with this, and you don't need to have Enigma. It will just cost you some gold along the way to just keep those teleport charges repaired. And moving on with the amulet here, we're using Mara's. This is definitely the #1 recommended amulet for this build, unless you're looking for something that's a crafted amulet. But just trying to keep it simple here, definitely just try to go for Mara's. In the beginning, I would try to get something like this with 3 to combat skills. For a Paladin, this is a magic amulet. You can gamble something like this. So if you have some extra gold laying around, I would definitely try to go to a merchant and gamble amulets, and eventually you will come across something similar to this. Moving on to the shield here, my recommendation is Herald of Zakarum. Overall, this is really nice for all the plus skills for the Paladin skill levels and combat skills. Very high resistances, and you can also put a lightning jewel in there as well. And just make sure you upgrade this shield as well. Just use a Lemko and the Perfect Diamond, and you definitely want to make sure that you upgrade it. So going over with the tier list for the shields, this is the #1 recommendation. But starting off, you want to try to get Splendor. This is a really good shield to have. It's a Runeword, and it's just really good for starting off. If you don't get a 2-socket shield, you could move up to something like Lidless Wall, or you could try to get a Spirit if you come across a 4-socket Paladin shield that has resistances. But overall, you really don't need to be worried about faster cast rate very much because there still is a delay when you cast Fist of Heaven. So you could try to get Spirit but eventually overall I would try to get Herald of Zakarum just to complete your build. So moving on here with the rings, I'm using Stone of Jordan. I did have another Stone of Jordan here, but I used it to kill the Diablo clone. So just make sure that you get 2 Stones of Jordan or whatever rings that you want to put in on your character. It really doesn't matter that much. Stone of Jordan is really going to be worth a lot once the season is out for a few months. So if you come across the Stone of Jordan, I would make sure that you keep it and then just sell it later on. The rings really don't matter too much in this build. Just use whatever you have, but I would definitely try to get Stone of Jordan for the plus to all skills and the increased maximum mana right there. And I'm using War Traveler boots for this build. For endgame, the boots really don't matter that much. Just try to make sure you get War Travelers for that plus 50, almost 50% to better chance of getting magic item. The boots aren't going to make or break the build. I would just make sure you get these so you can get more unique item, things like that. And for the armor, belt, and gloves, I'm using the Trang set. And the reason why I'm using this is for the firewall skill. So the reason why I'm using this is you need to have all 3 of these to get firewall. This is going to be something that I think is going to be a new meta for Fist of Heaven's Paladin, because Firewall actually does a ton of damage, and combining that with Fist of the Heavens, you're literally combining both of those together for a combination of super high damage and also doing fire damage along with lightning damage. And this is really nice because there's a lot of monsters in the game that originally are immune to lightning damage, and then when you use Conviction, this will take the lightning immunity off. However, they still have a lot of lightning resistance, so you'll notice that Fist of Heavens won't do a lot of damage to those monster types. So if you have something like Firewall, you're really going to be taking out those types of monsters really quickly, and it's just overall something that is really amazing to have on this build. It's something I personally recommend that I haven't seen anyone else recommend. So you will see in the gameplay, if you guys check the description below, you could skip to that part of the video and you can see the firewall gameplay and just see how much damage this will really do. So that is something I really recommend on this build, and it's a little bit more complex and more difficult to play the character when you're trying to use Firewall and Fist of the Heavens at the same time. So if it's something you don't really like as far as the gameplay style, we can still go over what helmet, belt, and gloves you should use. So we'll just start off with the helmet right here. So the first one you want to try to go for is this unique war hat right here. This is the one I recommend in the beginning if you can get it in the trading community, or you should try to go for a lore Runeword. So one of those two just to start off. And then moving on here, we'll eventually try to go for Shako. Shako is really nice for the better chance of getting magic items, plus all skills. It's just overall one of the best items in the game, but still I would recommend using the Trang bonus here. But this is just if you don't want to use the Trang set and you don't like using the firewall gameplay style. And eventually you will go for Griffin's Eye. This is something that's going to be extremely expensive in the trading community, and it's really going to cost you a lot. It's one of the most rarest items in the game, so probably for a really long time, if you're not using the Trang set, you will be using Shako for a very long time. And as far as the belt goes, if you're not using the Trang belt, you could go for Arachnid Mesh, or there's many other good options out there, such as Immortal King's belt that has a ton of resistances for your character. So this is also another really rare item in the game. If you're not using the Trang set, just go for Arachnid Mesh. And for the gloves, Trangal gloves are actually still really good, and if you're not using those, you could try to use Mage Fist. It really just depends on your character. The Trang gloves here give some extra defense and cold resistance. If you're trying to get some more mana regeneration though, I would definitely try to go for Mage Fist, and it's just overall just one of the best gloves in the game for any spellcaster. And then on Switch, we're using Call to Arms. You can also get a Divine Scepter or any Paladin Scepter and create this Runeword with those. You could try to get 3 Holy Shield skills on a Scepter and create a Call to Arms that would be extremely overpowered for your character. It's something that's very rare though, and you probably will never come across a Scepter like that. I've been playing the game for 20 years and I've never seen a Scepter drop with 5 sockets that has 3 to Holy Shield. And then you also want to get Spirit on your other slot right here. This is going to give you more plus skills to battle orders when you cast the battle orders and battle commands. So just always make sure on every character that has Call to Arms, you always have Spirit in the other slot. And as far as the inventory goes, we're using just the Paladin Torch, an Annie, and a Geeds for some better magic find there and reduce all vendor prices. And for the skills, for the skill charms, you always want to make sure you go for combat skills for Paladin and just fill up your inventory with those, and anything else that you come across the way on your Diablo 2 journey, such as magic find charms or life charms, resistance charms, anything that could help out your character, you can just put in these other slots up here. And I also have the puzzler staff in my inventory, as I said before, for teleport. This is really nice, just in case you're not using Enigma. You can just get teleport for your character really cheap. I definitely recommend this. I really see a lot of players not making this decision very often, and if you're trying to do something like Chaos Sanctuary, you're trying to do like Chaos Sanctuary runs and you don't have Enigma and you're not playing something like a sorceress, you can always just use this staff right here and just teleport to certain areas really quickly. And for the mercenary, this is another option here as well that is my personal choice, and something that I haven't seen any other players recommending is using a Rift Polearm for the mercenary. This is really good because it has a level 21 frozen orb, and you can combine this with conviction on your paladin, and it's going to be doing a ton of damage. Even on players 8, these frozen orbs will be doing very, very deadly damage. So this is just my recommendation. You will eventually have to start using mana potions though. So if you really don't like that gameplay style and you don't like having to use mana potion, every once in a while you'll just use mana potion. And if you don't like that gameplay style, you could always just go and switch it out for insight. I recommend using Rift though, because you're going to be doing a lot more damage. And as I said before, you're going to come across monsters that were immune to lightning damage, but you're still not going to be doing a whole lot of damage to them because they still have high lightning resistance. So when you combine this with Firewall, you're going to be taking out those types of monsters really quickly and saving a lot of time. And for the armor, we definitely had to use Skin of the Flayed one because I'm using Nightwing for the extra cold skill damage for Frozen Orb, and I put a cold jewel in there as well. So we definitely had to use this armor to make sure that he has some lifesteal per hit. You always want to make sure on any mercenary, except for the spellcaster mercenaries from Act 3, you always want to make sure that you have lifesteal per hit. If you don't have this, then your character or your mercenary will die. So always make sure that you have some form of lifesteal per hit for your mercenary. And moving on to the attributes right here, you want to use enough strength to wear your items, put enough points into dexterity to get 75% chance to block. Now you want to make sure though, if you're not using Call to Arms, you want to make sure that you cast Holy Shield and then make sure you have 75% chance to block. So you always want to make sure you just cast Holy Shield, take a look at it, and put enough points into dexterity until it hits 75%. If you have Call to Arms, you want to make sure you cast Battle Command out here so you get the extra skills. So you want to cast Battle Command, then cast Holy Shield, and then go back over here to your character sheet and make sure you put enough points into dexterity until you get 75% chance to block. That will save you some points on attributes there. And you want to put the rest of your points into vitality and then energy, none. As far as the skill tree goes, you could take a look right here at this sheet and you can just make sure that you max out these skills first. But starting off here with a endgame character that is level 90 or whatever endgame character, if you're in hell difficulty to start off, if you're just respeccing your character, you want to put 20 points into Fist of Heaven, 20 points into Holy Bolt, 20 points into Holy Shock. This is a synergy for Fist of the Heavens. And then you want to put enough points into Conviction until that resist all down there is negative 150%. I'm at 140 right now because I've been switching out a lot of items for this video. So just make sure you just check this every now and then with your character. If you're switching out items a lot, just go back and check this and make sure you have enough points to get 150 negative resistance, because this is really going to add a ton of damage to your character. And then you want to put 1 point into Defiance. This is a synergy for Holy Shield for some extra defense. And then once all of that, you just want to make sure you put the rest of your points into Holy Shield. All right, so to start off with this character in some gameplay, the first thing we want to do is cast Battle Command, Battle Orders, first, and then Holy Shield. And then switch back, and we're going to have Fist of the Heavens on the left and Conviction on the right, and then be casting Firewall as well. Alright, well that's about it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this new Fist of the Heavens ultimate build guide for Diablo 2. Make sure you subscribe if you want to keep up with more Diablo content. I love all of you so much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
I need a key.